Welcome everybody to another edition of the Dad at Arms channel. I'm your host, Colt, the Dad at Arms, and I'm here today with Sam Wilson, Trapjaw himself in the Masters of the Universe movie. Welcome, Sam.
Hey, Colt. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's great to be on, man. Thank you very much for inviting me. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, it is my honor to be. I mean, you're Trapjaw, one of a fan favorite character in the Masters of the Universe communities, and I think I can, I think I can speak for everybody. I think you nailed the role. I think he looks awesome. I think he's menacing. He's scary. It's so cool.
Thank you.
But yeah, why don't you go ahead and kind of tell people who you are, what it is you do, and then we'll kind of get into the details.
Sure. So my name's Sam C. Wilson. I always feel like a bit of a loser when I say the C. When I came out of drama school, we all had to. Well, when I first started getting like some of my earlier roles, I remember I would say that I was Sam Wilson, and people would be like, "Oh, like the Falcon," because obviously Sam Wilson's the Falcon, right? So I then went, maybe that'll work in my favor. So I go on IMDb and there's like 26 Sam Wilson. So I was like, right, I've got to get my middle name in there. So my middle name's like my dad's name, Chris. So it's like Sam Chris Wilson. So Sam C. Wilson. So I always feel a bit weird when I have to say, when I turn up to an audition and I say, Sam C. Wilson, I always feel a bit like I'm trying to be like Samuel L. Jackson. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, so I'm Sam C. Wilson. I play Trapjaw in the Masters of the Universe. I am an actor. My history. Oh, sorry. My partner's hair straighteners. Her hair straighteners just fell off the desk. So I came out of drama training. I was a little later to the game by some people's standards. So I'm kind of in my mid-20s, I started working professionally as an actor. My history was in kind of like classical acting. So I'm sort of, I guess for you guys, like we train in like Chekhov and Shakespeare and stuff like that. And that was my grounding, I suppose. I was kind of stage trained. And then I kind of actually, because I'm like 6'5", and I was particularly at the time very kind of built and heavy and stuff, and there'll be times when I've been more heavy than built because I've got on the pizzas, or maybe not so much. I got started to get spotted for kind of like TV parts, and I got a big sort of breakout thing when I played a small part in Hannah, which is that series about the young kind of hit sleeper agent, sort of teenage girl. It was a film, and then they made a series, and I was in the series. Right. And for me, it was like a really, really big deal because I was like, it was the first time ever like filming something. So I was like, oh my God, I've got my own trailer. This is it. Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to go to the shops. And then it came out, and I'm basically like, my part's like, yo, and that's kind of it. And I remember being like, oh my God, I'm on TV. I mean, I'm famous, and I wasn't. And then I played Bill Sykes a few years later in like Oliver Twist, Bill Sykes in a series that we did here called Dodger. And that was my big experience of like, really doing like months and months and months playing a big character for a TV show. And then I did House of the Dragon, I guess, was a big kind of step up because I played like, it was my first time playing a role that people already read about, like an iconic roles. At Blood, I played in House of the Dragon, and my voice was much lower. I kind of talked like that when I did him and did that kind of accent, and that was great fun. But it was my first kind of experience at like people having an expectation of a character that already existed, and kind of like me reading up on it. And well, I suppose Bill Sykes had been, but for me, it's like we read about Dickens so much over here that it almost feels like if someone were to say play Santa Claus, it doesn't feel like you've got to go study Santa Claus. It's a bit like it almost occupies like an archetype, so you just do it. And anyway, so then a few more parts later, I kind of filmed Blade Runner, and I filmed a couple of other things which were still waiting to come out. And then I got a call saying, there's an audition come through. It's for a part called Trapjaw. They've been seeing lots and lots of stunt actors for this, people who are like stuntmen. You need to be able to fight. It was down on my CV that I had done a lot of boxing, which I had, grown up boxing, but and they've gone through lots and lots of kind of, apparently they've seen lots of bodybuilders and wrestlers for this part, but they really want an actor. But so then they were like, then they're on to like, rather than like big guys who can act, they've now gone for the angle of, they've seen, by this point, apparently, I then found out they've seen hundreds of people, right? And then they go, I get told by my agent, they need an actor who can be big and fight, but an actor first. So I thought, okay, what I'm going to do is my self-tape that I did, I had my arm like this to be the claw, because I looked at who Trapjaw was, you know, and I had a vague memory because my cousin played with the toys.
Yeah.
And then they said he's like, I played him a bit like Rex Kwando. You might have seen one of the other interviews. I played him a bit like, I played him like this. And but I kind of put my jaw up to the screen and went, and I did all this stuff, and I played him really, you know, insane. And anyway, I got this call being like, yeah, they'd like you. And I was like, you're kidding. Wow. Oh my God. And I read the movie script again. They sent me the whole script, and they were like, it's a pretty stunt heavy role though. Are you up for it? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then when I first went in and they showed me all the stunt stuff, like the pre-visualization of what they wanted the stunts to look like, I was like, shit, I mean, the fights looked like they look in the film. Basically, what you've seen in the film, shot for shot, they were already shot, but with like these incredible stuntmen, but with like pieces of cardboard on to show who they were, and almost like storyboarded. And I thought, I can't do that. Like I had trained into doing like a stage punch or like a bit of boxing on stage, or maybe like the odd, like we had been trained in doing like a set piece fight. So like you do a bit of a scrap where one of you goes, huh, huh, bang. And that's kind of like the bit. But no, this is like Krav Maga, up close, big swings. You know, they want it all. They want you to do it all. So there was a lot there. And then they showed me the sketch of how they wanted Trapjaw to look. And he was like 20 kilograms heavier than I was, and like huge. And the one that they had drawn up looked like the Hulk. And I was like, okay, that's going to need CGI. You know, I can't, unless you have someone who's been on 20 years of peptides and testosterone and whatever, you know, whatever else. I can do what I can do, but I'm an actor first, you know. But yeah, so I just took it on and then kind of did it all after millions and millions of prosthetic fittings and everything else. And then my baby was born while we were filming. It was all quite a whirlwindy time. And now here I am talking to you, and it's out on Prime today.
Yeah, today's the day.
Sorry to sort of talk at you, but I kind of just feel like there are sort of, I guess maybe they're the interesting bits that I think, at least, are interesting to the thing. And then I you know, please tell me if I'm bombarding you. I tend to get a bit.
No, no, that's exactly what I like to hear. I love hearing the stories. So you're just fine.
Great.
You know, and congratulations on being a father. That's
thank
amazing.
you. Yeah. Oh, it's the best thing ever. Best thing ever.
Agreed, 100%. Best thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah. How many kids have you got?
I have two sons. They're both teenagers now. So
I bet
whole new adventure.
I bet they think they're the coolest thing ever, don't they? Like with all your collectibles.
Some days. They like all the video games and stuff that I bring to the table, but all the He-Man and the Ninja Turtle stuff, they're not quite into that.
maybe I don't know. I mean, this is going to be the most like millennial thing I ever say. I was going to say like maybe me and you could do this whole podcast, but in like a very thick, like, you know, those crystal, so like the big. Maybe if we did this in grills, would they be interested?
Exactly.
With a can of Prime. Or something.
maybe we could get them that way.
Yeah. I mean, no. It's probably the most old man shit I've ever said. So
I know, right? and that's the thing. That's the thing about it, is like everything I say now is it makes me feel old for how I talk to my kids and what I'm like, yeah, it is what it is.
I know. I mean, I never thought that I would live to see the day where like me referencing Eminem was the equivalent of my dad talking about like Deep Purple.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Wild. Yeah, it's
I'll
wild.
be like, oh my God, I bought the Marshall Mathers LP on CD. And people will be
Yep.
like, it's like the equivalent of my dad going, I used to listen to We'll Meet Again on the wireless or something.
Exactly.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
But
It's quite the adventure. It's
inevitable, hey?
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, let's you brought up the prosthetics. Previously I talked with Barry Gower, who did all the prosthetics work and makeup work and stuff like that for the film. And so I wanted to talk to you about that process. Because obviously, I mean, you're unrecognizable when you're in the trap jaw getup. Can you kind of tell me about that process, like how long it takes, how heavy the prosthetics were, things like that?
Sure thing. Yeah. So in the months leading up to filming, part of the training would be that, like, kind of like on a weekly basis, I would go up and do this kind of like round robin of Barry Gower's offices and then the studios. So the way that it would work is I would be training lots in the gym and being shown how to they were like, and it's interesting, the gym thing. I remember when the film first came out, I remember someone put like an AI trap jaw out there who was like 200 kilograms with no fat, like almost like Ang Lee's Hulk level. And someone put, oh my God, this is what it should have looked like, not that dad bod we got in the film. And I saw a few of them, which was a big mistake ever reading any of that. And I remember thinking, like, I really bugged me for a day. And then I was like, actually, no, recounting lots of these things with you guys is so helpful, because we went in and we were like, okay, what are we going to go for like the time that we have and what's achievable with a daily commitment? So it was a daily commitment. And they were like, look, Trapjaw is like a gladiator. And we looked at all these reference images of, like, you know, the gladiator in like the first Gladiator, where the one that the boss one that he fights, who's almost like farmer strong. Like rotund. We started looking at images like that. And I obviously Hafthor was training with me. So I was like, right, and he was strongman training. And I thought that is doable, because to try and do an entire bulk phase and then a cutaway essentially would have required like pretty gnarly levels of performance enhancing drugs, which I just wasn't prepared to do. And also it would have needed like a year, and we had months. So I was like, right, it's a strongman bulk. And I was literally throwing up like 60 kgs, like 130 pounds per hand on the thing. I was lifting enormously big weights because I wanted to fill out this sort of costume, and I wanted him to look like this, like, general who was almost like an aging chimp. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like, that's really what we were going for. And I was really, really happy with what we did. The reason that's important is because we kind of had to make Barry and his lot aware of what our choices were in that department. Okay. Because then it would be like, right, okay, so we're going to, they did lots and lots of scans of my head. And then what they did is Pat Fode, who's an incredible sculptor, sculpted Trapjaw's kind of head over in clay over a kind of a printed scan of my sort of, they had like my mannequin, my bust in there. And so he built Trapjaw in clay over the top. And then what they do, I believe, is that they do another scan of that. And then in the negative space between my head and the sculpt, that's where they print silicon, which, so on this side, it's my face, and on that side, it's their sculpt. And then I had to do lots and lots and lots of visits to them. And then they 3D printed this helmet. But of course, that needed to move a bit because I was doing these huge shrugs with these enormous weights, and they had to have the helmet that could give, because my neck gained 5 inches on it. Wow. It was huge. Like, there's these pictures of me in the thing. I mean, right now I'm kind of much leaner. But I almost had those, like, you know, when like you see the back of Marcellus Wallace in you know how he has those kind of like wrinkles on the back of his head. That's where I was starting to, you know, I thought I want to make this bloke look like terrifying. and you know, I may never ever play a part like that again, so I want to do it properly. And so anyway, we go into loads of those sittings, and then they bring out all these paints as I'm in, and they test different paints, and they want to see which ones they experimented with some like satin kind of things to see if they could give him a shine. They wanted to figure out how to make it look like it was real skin. So lots and lots of tests, and then finally we work with the costume department, and the costume department come in and they keep fitting different arm pieces, and should it be 2 pieces of leather? Should it be 3, etc., etc. Then I'm going in for meetings with the people who build the legs, who are a separate team, who worked as a kind of a separate division within costume, and they were 3D printing these giant mechanical legs, and which were basically 3D printed sheets of genuine, like quite heavy carbon fiber, and they would go over these leggings that were designed partly to be put on, and then they would have to screw them on over my legs once the top pieces were fitted. Then they made these shoes. They asked me what my favorite trainers were, and I said, "Oh, put me in some Nike Air or Dunks, Nike Dunks." They were, and they put me in Nike Dunks, and I said, "Oh, you know, you should be able to get some. The director's dad probably has a few pairs lying around." So they build me these things, and all in, basically, probably getting a bit boring, but basically all in. On the day, it would be, I'd go in first thing in the morning, disrobe completely. I'd get shaved again, fresh every day, everything all over my hair, face, everything. And at the time, I tell you, because I was like carrying a lot of like water weight from a lot of like creatine and lifting, getting a clean shave as well. I don't think my wife to be fancied me very much at the time. I sort of, because it was like winter, I was a bit pale. I kind of looked like a thumb. And so I'd get in, I'd sit in the chair, and then they would start dabbing on this paint, and it really is like a dab. So they get me completely blue everywhere. And I remember the first day they got my entire right arm blue, and I said, "Why have you done that? I'm going to put it in a sleeve in a minute, in a green sleeve." And they went, "Shit, we've just wasted an hour on the right arm." And so like, you know, teething. Anyway, and then at the same time, I think just prior to this, they would lay on these 2 pieces on my head, and they'd have to line them up perfectly, and they get all the edges, and then they blend the edges in with your skin and provide lots and lots of eye makeup. So from there, it's actually my eyes. So it like blends. And then up to there, it blends in, and it's my skin. And then they put a bold cap on. So at a certain point, you might see the pictures online, but I'm completely blue, and then I've got this bit on, and I look like the ones where I look a bit like a turtle, or I said on another thing, I look like Littlefoot from The Land Before Time. And then they would black out all this, helmet on, jaw on, and then I would go and get into the rest of costume, and all in is about 6 hours per shoot.
Wow.
And so some days I'd be in at about 3:30 in the morning, ready to shoot for 9:30. And there are, I regret to say, a couple of terrible days where you get ready and they say, we're the schedule's changed or whatever, we don't need you today. I've got to say they're the worst. They're the worst. That only happened to me once. It happened to Hafthor a couple of times as well, because me and Hafthor really were like kind of almost, it was known on set that mine and his makeup was like grueling. He has a slightly stronger will than me, I think, just by nature. He kind of just has, it's in his DNA to just push limits. He just seems to be able to go somewhere in his mind, which is, I mean, I was doing a lot of like Spotify, trying to find something that would keep me excited, you know, a lot of dopamine seeking.
Right.
And then you get in, and then you've got to do all these stunts you've been rehearsing in a full tracksuit, in all this
gear.
in this gear, which is where my stunt double Miles would now and then, if something was going to really compromise the costume or whatever, or if it was something like that bit where we're tumbling around, the bit where I'm really falling, anything where you think, oh my God, he wouldn't get up from that, Miles would step in for those like little beats on camera. and Miles would work with me most of the time. He would come up to me between takes, and he stands there, bless him, dressed up also as Trapjaw, having to kind of also be my stunt like coordinator as we go as well. So a lot of moving parts, really. But I've got to say, I watched it earlier again because I haven't watched it since being in the cinema. There's particularly that first fight,
right?
Because we really worked on that. I mean, it looks great. I'm so happy with it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I mean, it's a good because it's us, and you can kind of tell, can't you, that it's not just two CGI figures going at it. That's me and Idris.
Yeah, it's got that weight to it, that realistic, heft to it that you can't. Yeah, you can't fake that with like CGI and stuff like that. It feels visceral.
Exactly. And Idris's costume was heavy, and Idris is a built guy, and he's heavy too. So me and him were really pushing and pulling, and it was like really. It's a difficult thing as well when you basically majorly starstruck by the guy you're fighting, and you've just got to spend days like getting like beating up or getting beaten up. There's a good bit where the jaw opens and he flicks it shut, and I got to tell you, when he actually flicked it shut, that is no acting required. He went bang with my head.
Oh man. That's amazing.
Yeah. No, so much of it is like viscerally real. And the bit where they're tumbling, all credit to Tom, Idris's stunt double, and Miles, my stunt double. A lot of that, they are really getting thrown at an actual kind of. This thing was built on a pivot,
and it actually rotated.
It actually rotated.
Wow.
I think that you probably see some BTS stuff. If not, I'll try and dig out some pictures of it. But you can. But it would go. They would go turning, and you go, and it was turning, and you're inside it, and you're like, oh my God, like the whole ship. It's all built, man. It's like, I think a lot of like the naysaying around like CGI, it's almost like I want to say to people like, there is a lot less CGI than you think. There was a big emphasis, particularly where like my stuff was concerned, because I can only really speak to that because I was there. A lot of it's real. Really, the only bit that's CG'd is the between here and here on my arm. Even the blaster or the hook or the knife, I had,
those were real.
Yeah, they were. So I mean,
so it would have been just like the arm portion for like the transforming effects, where it's like transforming between weapons.
Exactly that. Yeah. So I would have this like thing on. I think you can probably see it on my Instagram where I'm kind of sat folded arm like that. My arm is in this big green sock, and then they would have the props department are incredible. They had the blast. It's so surreal when my toy arrived. I mean, here it is.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But what's crazy about it? First of all, I went on the Mattel website and it says built in the likeness of Sam C. Wilson, which is like,
wow.
That's on Mattel. And I've got to say, I'm very grateful because they've given me a lot more muscles than I managed to get in the time. And the other thing is, the fixtures. I mean, they were three of them lined up on the table, and I would go, "What are we shooting?" And they'd tell us, and someone would come along with "You've got the blaster out at this bit, and on this shot you've got the hook, and on this shot," and they'd hand them over, and I'd go, "Right, we're there. Okay, fine." And it was really cool, really cool.
That's awesome. I'm going to bring up, I'm going to share my screen here. I brought up your Instagram page so we can kind of get a look at so people can see what you're talking about with the sleeve and stuff.
Sure, man.
Let's see here. Here we go. Okay.
There it is. So that's the sleeve. Yeah. And that was that little band that they gave me, which kind of, was sort of like placeholders for like where my elbow would be, I guess.
Okay.
But I can't pretend to be. That is Alison Brie. She's so lovely. That was Camila there that you just had up there. Alison as Eva Lynn was so cool. She was so nice. She kind of like treated me as if I was like her friend. And when we were doing a lot of the interviews in the States, Alison's like this major professional. at all
Right.
this. And Alison had me in doing interviews with her, and you know, just like she's just so cool, man. She's so nice. Like a lot, I've got to say, you know, you work. I've worked with lots of people now, and I think, you know, you do meet people that you think, oh, you're not quite what I expected, and then on this film, I think everybody pleasantly surprised, and more like everyone was really nice. Like it was a good bunch of people.
And I think that shines through in a lot of like a lot of the social media kind of posts that different cast members have been putting up. Like you can tell that there's like an affection between the cast members.
Oh,
And like
yeah, totally.
it just it looks like you guys are having fun together and enjoying being around each other, which is
Majorly.
special. You know, that's cool.
It was, and I think it meant that the premieres, we were all quite, I think as well, because a few of us were a bit like new to the whole premiere thing. I mean, I suppose I did House of the Dragon, but like I didn't even go along to the premiere for that when I did it, and it was a big leap going from like having gone to a couple of screenings for TV shows I'm in to like being in the Chinese theater and like Hollywood Boulevard being like shut and pulling up in a van and like lots of screaming fans. And I wore a shirt that was a bit too hot, and I probably won't do that again, because when you're already nervous and then you're kind of hot,
right.
You know. But I mean, it was a lot to take in. So like actually having like castmates that you felt we all kind of looked after each other a little bit. I think we were all kind of aware it was a bit overwhelming for us. So, you know, they're a really good bunch of lads. And also it was quite like I had shared with a couple of them. I said, I think, you know, I didn't realize that Trapjaw, you know, having his top off, I didn't realize that even as some like big ghoul that I'd be like under any scrutiny from like the internet body shamers. But
right.
You know, sure enough, they managed to find their way to their keyboards.
So unfortunate.
It is. I
mean, I just gotta say, like, you look amazing, dude. Like,
thank you very much. Cheers.
You like the presence you bring to the character. You know, I think aside from Skeletor himself, I think Trapjaw is the standout villain in this movie. You know, at least to me and a few other people I've talked to. Like, the voice is cool, the physical presence is intimidating and scary. Like, I can't imagine Trapjaw in live action any other way now. Like,
oh mate, do you know what?
Perfect.
That is it. And I've got to say, right, you know, when I did have that bad day where I told you about, because a lot of this is first, and I'm just a guy who went to and did some like theatre, and then through lots and lots of things, you just wind up doing stuff, right? So I'm just someone who wanted to do the best job, right? So if you read that stuff, it's like your first time doing it. I had to reach out to a couple of people who were a bit wiser and older than me, who were just like, oh, it was so interesting. They were like, what, you read below the line, you read the comments, they were like, why did you do that, you idiot? Like, the whole internet hates me, I don't care. Like, none of them care. And then the fans I spoke to, I've been in touch with loads of fans. I couldn't have hoped to have been as enveloped in a more kind of like loving, sort of mature, kind, supportive fan base. It was a total surprise for me. I mean, I should have known, I guess, but I didn't. And I've just got sort of, a fan base could go either way, I guess. I think that I've seen in some of the other universes, people often are like, oh, they've killed the franchise, what are they doing? And I'm like, particularly I'm thinking like when I see like some of the reactions to like some of the DC's output, I think, my God, people are really angry here. Like, what's going on? I just not experienced that here. I've just experienced like a lot of like affection and love, and kind of like the best parts of nerding out. And which, to be honest, you know, I watch cartoons before bed every night. I'm a massive geek myself, so it's that's not the wall of a cool person, really. There's a Space Odyssey vinyl there. You can probably see.
Love it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's been a real it's been lovely. Really has.
That's good. That's good. And I will say that the He-Man, the Masters of the Universe fan community historically has been a very positive space and a very, I guess, happy space to be. There's a lot of good fans out there that, I attribute it to, we took the lessons from the old cartoon show, the old moral lessons to heart, and just treat people kindly. And yeah, you'll have flare-ups every now and then about different little things, but overall, over the years, it's been a good community of fans, and so I'm glad that you were able to find those fans. To help you, because that negativity and stuff like that, that's just, I hate it. It's uncalled for.
Well, and ultimately, I think when if you give it even sort of 10 minutes of thought, it's a very kind of dark, strange pocket of the internet that just happens to algorithmically score big points, so we all see it. And I think someone a while ago was saying to me, have you ever met someone that you'd associate with that has ever left a negative comment on anything? And I was like, no. And they were like, and if your friend had even if you saw one of your close mates had put a comment like that under someone's thing, you'd probably like not want to talk to them anymore. It's like a really strange thing to do. So actually what happens is you get the kind of plotting effect of every city's nasty weirdo all in one section, and it ends up looking like a mob, but it's just make believe. It's not real. Right.
It's that vocal minority that they're loud, sure, but it's very minuscule,
Yeah, exactly.
In the overall scheme of things. So,
and also, I mean, the old adage, I'd really love someone to say it to me. They would.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, say it to my face. Everybody's brave behind a keyboard.
Yeah, exactly. Aren't they just?
Yeah, it's wild. But no, screw all that. You look amazing.
Yeah.
Looked amazing. You, man. It's awesome.
I'm really, really happy with the film and how it's all turned out. I mean, I just hope that we come back for another, like that. I'll say that openly.
I agree. I'm rooting for it, and I hope that the numbers on Prime really boost it into that, into that level that we get more of this.
I think that's where this is headed.
I think so too.
I really do. I think that in 2 weeks' time, there'll be a much more interesting picture about all this.
Mm-hmm.
When people have, I watch stuff at home all the time. I've got a kid. You've had kids as well.
Yeah.
I like to go to box office when I can, but it's just not necessarily a reality of my life at the moment. And I have done a lot of home premieres of stuff. Whether that's the right thing or the wrong thing, it's just what's happened. And loads of my mates have been in touch with me today, being like, "We're watching tonight."
Awesome.
Because they're in their mid-30s and they've got children, and I'm like, cool. That it's less of a kind of, I guess, it's less of an obligation or an ask to them in terms of their daily life. They're now turning on their telly at night when the kids are in bed, and they're going, "Oh, okay, here we go."
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm glad you bring that up, because I love going to the theater as well. Like it's a fun experience seeing it on the big screen, with your snacks and everything like that. But life happens around all of it, you know what I mean? And sometimes, most of the time, we can't make it to those kind of theaters. So we have, back in the 80s and 90s, obviously it was VHS and DVD releases from the video store. Now it's streaming. That's the new wave of things, and it's a whole new beast, right? It's not just box office returns. It's the streaming aspect of things is massive, especially with someone like Prime Video, who is the studio behind this movie. Like, it's got to be part of the plan.
I think that it's the whole wave of it's going to be the plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with Bond and things like that.
Yeah.
That'll be an like, don't you think that'll just be, considering that Bond is like really gadget heavy and AI heavy and just, I'm just really fascinated to see what comes in every sense, in like the release, the box office, like all of it. I'm so intrigued to see what becomes of Bond and Prime having the IP there. My friend sent me a betting slip because he had seen that I was on to play Bond at 25-1.
Wow.
And I went, news to me, mate. And he went, oh, he said, I thought you might know something. And
He was looking for the insider insider bets.
I said to him, I'm really sorry to tell you, man. I just, I know that they want a different Bond. I just don't know if I'm quite there yet. Maybe. Who knows?
Well, fingers crossed. That would be amazing too.
Hold on.
There you go.
Zap. Yeah.
Oh, man.
There
you go.
Yeah.
So I think streaming is going to do wonders for this movie, and I think this is, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few weeks. But
yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
Hopeful. So with the movie itself, we have kind of three big fight scenes for your character. We have the early one with Man-at-Arms in the Royal Palace, and then you fight with He-Man after he transforms for the first time, and which amazing, you get the cannon arm ripped off and everything like that, just so freaking cool.
Yeah.
And then you have another kind of rematch with Man-at-Arms towards the end of the film. Was there any were there any other like big action sequences or fight scenes that were filmed or rehearsed that didn't make it into the final cut of the film, or is that basically everything?
Do you know what? I've never been part of a more economical use of footage. Seriously.
Wow.
I had more than expected to overshoot. Travis is a real planner, real stickler for planning. And when I watched it, I thought, here we go. I mean, I must have found there's like a couple of beats, like within the first fight. There's one bit where I have Man-at-Arms by the neck and I whip him round. And that was originally, I had him by one side, whipped him round and smashed him. Other side, whipped him round and smashed him. And they've just reduced it to like one. That is like honestly tantamount to the cuts. Wow. There's a couple more hits maybe that were like cut in, and they've just tightened up the fight slightly. But honestly, like, it's only because I rehearsed it to death that I would even notice that. Like, they've cut my stuff less in this than I've had my stuff cut in like dialogue scenes where they've kept do you know what I mean? Like, it's like seriously good use of our stuff. In fact, even the stuff where I'd forgotten I'd done some of it. The bit where the ship's coming in and the bit where Skeletor says, "Oi, like go and women and children first." Kind of thing. All that.
Right.
I'll level with you. That was quite early on. I had totally forgotten I'd done that.
Wow.
And I was like, oh yeah. And Trapjaw's actually the way they've done him is he's really sprinkled throughout. I'm like, he's a big, like you say, he's a big villain. In many ways, apart from like the duo of Skeletor and Evil Lyn, I'm kind of like, he's like the main dispatched baddie.
Yeah. It's almost like he's like a lieutenant or something like that. Or
I think so, isn't he? He's a bit like, that's kind of his. Trying to think of there's definitely I can't think of it, but there's definitely filmic examples of when like the main boss dispatches the boss. I think like in the old Batmans, they did it more.
Yeah, there
like,
you go.
You know, like the Riddler is dispatched by Two-Face. Have I got is that in the right
Yeah,
film?
yeah. Two-Face and Riddler were in. Let's see, what is it? Batman Forever.
Exactly, and then is it where Schwarzenegger plays Mr. Ice?
Yes.
He dispatches Bane.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And Poison Ivy. So it's a bit like that kind of dispatching of your main dude. That's kind of what Trapjaw ended up feeling like. And I don't think I'd necessarily appreciated what a big part of it I'd be. It's a big honor. No one can take it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
That's awesome. Tell me a little bit. We kind of got away from the prosthetic side of thing, and you mentioned it briefly, but kind of tell me a little bit about the jaw. You know, because obviously it's Trapjaw. He's known for the mechanical jaw. Tell me a little bit more about kind of that makeup. I guess that the costuming effect for that, and what your process for acting in that jaw to make it.
Yeah, sure. So they'd put the prosthetics on, and when I had the prosthetics on, there was this kind of like I could go, and like all of it was like glued to every little part of skin, so that every kind of bit of muscle movement was articulated.
Okay.
So it was just articulated slightly differently. So I remember like angry was like, so I had to like, because if I raised that, these two pulled in. So I would raise my eyebrows, but it would look like this.
Okay.
So I had to like rehearse what, and then for my smile, I had to go. So there's a bit where I have to go, but I went.
Awesome.
So I was rehearsing like how to use these different faces, and I say, Travis, check this out. If he's like maniacal, like there's a bit where I've like just blasted, and I go, but I went. That's and anyway, and then then I would put some netting on that had the jaw, that was a 3D printed jaw, and that had a foam fitting that would just perch on my chin, and then we had to pull the elastic quite tight so that was almost like I could pull it further, but it was like taut against my jaw. So like the bottom jaw was next, and I could do that. And then the helmet, and then that would click in with these articulators here, and then you see the effect that was, you know, it's all. And if I was talking, I would have to do that, because it was like, and often you'll see me go, ugh. And it's because in order to get the jaw to like animate, I had to do this. So it kind of helped, because I kind of made him a bit like, I used Andy Serkis's stuff as like Caesar in Planet of the Apes.
Okay. Yeah.
I watched a lot of his videos, and like he's a bit of a hero anyway. Like if there's a career I'd like, it's that. I'd love to do more creature, and I know that there's going to be more Planet of the Apes in the future, so I'm kind of manifesting that. I mean, I really love playing sort of simian characters, just because the fact is, when you're at drama school, you do animal studies and you feel like such a dickhead going around acting like a monkey, and then you think there's something really satisfying about actually in the end making a living out of doing it, where you go, oh my gosh, it was worth it. It was worth going around pretending to, like, you know, pick nits out of my hair for you know, that's it's actually worth it now. So yeah, that's how that worked. And then in between takes, I would take the jaw off and rest it on my head like a little cap.
Nice.
And kind of, you know, let
stretch it out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did you get a lot of soreness in your jaw muscle from all of it? I can imagine.
Oh yes. I got soreness in my jaw. A lot of soreness. I've got black dye and 2 black gum shields in my mouth during filming. It's a blackout, because even that wasn't added after. You know, I'm like, they painted all this black and then add black gum shields, and then I would swill black dye around my mouth between takes.
Okay.
So that the light would kind of disappear into here while I talked.
Wow.
So it's kind of like we knew that there would be I've seen it, you know, again, you saw a couple of people say, well, how does he say his P's and his M's? And I'm like, well, you know, how did Kermit the Frog do it? It's practical effects, baby. You know, some of it doesn't look quite right, and that's what we like.
Yeah.
In my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like seeing practical effects over CGI. You know, CGI has its place and it helps with a lot of things, but practical effects are just cool.
Yeah,
and
like
so
he doesn't have lips. He doesn't have lips. There's just no getting around it.
Yeah.
Either that, or we give Trapjaw like, I don't know, like an illegible speech impediment that just ruins the film.
Right. and that's how it is. Like in the old cartoons and stuff, Trapjaw, you know, I mean, his jaw moved the way it does, but because of animation, you're still able to understand what he's saying.
Yeah, of course.
Like not that big a deal.
No, exactly. Yet again, the quiet minority.
Yeah.
Strike.
Yeah. And that's just that nitpicking, you know, just looking for reasons to complain.
Yeah. I mean, those people will be at Christmas in a shopping mall near you, pulling a beard off a Santa.
Exactly. Yep. Like they're revealing something. It's like, no, we know it's fake.
Look. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's amazing, man. And I'm just so happy. I'm happy you had a good experience with the film, and I'm happy that you've had a good experience with, you know, fans of this IP. You know, as a fan myself, it makes me proud that other fans are being cool about things. But I guess I want to ask, before coming into this movie, what was kind of your experience with Masters of the Universe? Was it something that you kind of grew up with? You said earlier that your I believe is your brother watched
my cousin. So
cousin had the toys.
I'm 36.
Okay.
And so I was a 90s kid, really. So I grew up on a lot of Marvel and stuff was permeating at the time. And then when we got cable, we would then watch Thundercats and He-Man and all this. Like they were kind of like the legacy 80s cartoons in the and kind of like heavy metal and stuff like that. And so but my cousin did grow up on it, and so he had a lot of toys. So I got a lot of hand-me-down He-Mans, and I didn't really know who he was. And then I got cable, and I did, and I was really, really into He-Man, particularly Skeletor. And for some reason, kind of in the kind of melting pot, like the leaky cold, the black cauldron, was it? Yeah, like that kind of it's that kind of like world but it always felt like there was something classic about it already when I was a kid.
Okay.
Because I think when you're a kid as well, 10 years is a long time.
Right.
For something to have really taken off. You know what I mean? It's literally a lifetime when you're that age.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I think that was my experience with it. And then when I got a bit older, I got really into it because of like meme culture and stuff like that. And then I just started reading lots of comics and started finding then I watched the Toys That Made Us and looked into He-Man then. And then I got the part and read up on it loads and looked at all of the different Cronuses and tried to turn him into my own with the help of prosthetics and makeup. And when I kind of looked at what he looked like, I thought, what would he sound like? And we ended up where we ended up. And I think it kind of all came together to be a pretty cohesive, like characterful guy.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think. Yeah, I mean, I've said it already on here. I think it's just fantastic. You did.
Oh, bless you, man! Thank you so much, mate.
Yeah, and then finally, kind of before we leave, how, you know, you brought up the action figure earlier. How does it feel to have a toy based on your character?
It feels amazing, actually. Very surreal. It's funny how elastic the human brain is, because you suddenly get used to a new normal. And I think sometimes, you know, coming on with you and things like this, it gives me a bit of pause to feel some gratitude again, because actors are in the same rat race that we're all in, which is like, you know, you desperately want a thing and then it happens and you do it and you realize that you just wanted it and that having it is not quite enough and you just want the next thing. And I've been up for a few really sort of big jobs and maybe not got them recently, and I've lost sight of the fact that I'm staring at my own action figure.
Yeah.
And you know, in a sense, you know, thank you very much for reminding me. It's incredible. What can I say? It's brilliant, and it's not to be taken lightly how lucky I am, really. And so thanks to all the fans for making the action figure mean something, because without them, it's just a piece of plastic.
I love that. I love that. And I will say, as far as the action figure goes, I've got them on my shelf back here.
Hey, there he is.
Yeah, one trap jaw of many, but this is your version of trap jaw. And I just
You've gone with a hook.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, he's so cool looking. And I think of the ones that they've released, you know, so far for this specific line, for the Chronicles movie line, trap jaw is easily the coolest looking. You know,
I mean, I'm biased, but I'm inclined to think so.
Yeah, I mean, he just looks so rad. I mean, what's not to love? It's a cyborg with a metal jaw. Like, it's so
dude.
Cool.
And long may he continue. I'm just going to say this now: we did not see him die.
Awesome. That was going to be my next question. If there is a sequel, does Trapjaw return? Because yeah, you're right.
I don't know.
Body.
All I'm saying is I didn't see him die, and as far as I'm concerned, the guy can rebuild himself pretty well.
Yeah, I love it.
That's all I know.
I think that's good. I think that's a good assumption to go with. Well, we're kind of coming up on about a little over 50 minutes. But I just, thank you for joining me today. I know you're busy, and so I'm appreciative that you are willing to take time out of your day to sit down with me and talk about these things. And then I guess to wrap it up, I want to express my gratitude as a fan. This is something that I've been a fan of my entire life, ever since I was a kid. Obviously I've got toys, I've got, t-shirts, stuff like that. But I even had, when my wife and I got married 20 years ago, we had He-Man and Tila on our wedding cake.
Oh, that's so lovely. Toppers.
This is my absolute favorite thing in the world, is Masters of the Universe. And to finally see it on the big screen is such a treat. But getting to be able to talk to the people that brought these characters that have been such an important part of my life, to life, incredible honor. And
that's lovely, man. Thank you so much, Colt. I really appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully we'll be able to do this again. If we do get a sequel, we'll be able to,
of course you will,
have more chats. So
you've got my email, dude. You know where to find me.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And I guess with that, that's a good place to sign off. To everybody out there watching, where can they find you online to be able to support you?
Online, I'm at Sam C. Wilson Actor, all one word, Wilson with one L, at Sam C. Wilson Actor. That's kind of like my only online presence, really, apart from my work, which you'll see on, I guess you can go on IMDb and find any of that as well.
Awesome. Very cool. So yeah, to everybody out there watching, thanks for tuning in, and thank you for your support. And until next time, good journey.
See you guys.
Thank you, Sam.
No worries.